Welcome to Doing the Work, a Naples integrated recovery podcast. My name is Brian, and this space is for anyone who's tired of surviving the same emotional and behavioral loops, whether that's anxiety, trauma, addiction, or problems in your relationships. Around here, we cut the surface level advice, no sugarcoating, no platitudes, no bumper sticker wisdom. We focus on clarity, responsibility, emotional discipline, and the courage to look at yourself honestly so that you can stop repeating the same old patterns and start living with intention instead of reaction. Let's get into it. Hey listeners, welcome back. So I am working on adding podcasts or recordings over some of the stuff that I have written on my website. So I'm going back to like 2024 and 2025 material from my website, and I'm going to do some recording over that or ad-libbing over that or explaining what I had on the website. So today I am talking about your pocket-sized dopamine dispenser. You don't need a research study to see it. Just go out to Chili's for dinner and you will find a family of four around the table. Dad is on his phone switching between Outlook and Bank of America, checking the accounts. Mom on Reddit and Pinterest and Instagram. And one kid with his iPhone swapping between Snapchat and Instagram, TikTok and ChatGPT, and then maybe another one that's got an iPad that they are watching something, and they've got giant Beats by Dre headphones so that they can't even hear anything. Probably somebody else has AirPods in. So everybody is just kind of half eating, half scrolling, and nobody's fighting. I guess that's good. Nobody's making a scene. Nobody's doing anything dramatic. No police getting called here. But this is what is actually worse, is that this is what society looks like, that this is what we think is normal. A family is physically together and psychologically scattered across four separate worlds. Four bodies at one table, four private feeds, four nervous systems being regulated by a glass rectangle. Server comes over and everybody kind of briefly interrupts, what they're doing, and then right back to it again. And if you think about this, you see it everywhere. Waiting rooms, airports, grocery lines, at a red light, beaches, restaurants, school pickup, living rooms, couples sitting on the same couch, not connected with each other. Each one has maybe an AirPod in. Parents pushing a stroller while looking down at their phone. Kids with a tablet before they can even tie their shoes. Now, if you were to go back to like 2006 and say that this is what society would look like in 2026, people, you'd shake your head, right? And every once in a while, I meet somebody who breaks this spell. I have one friend that I can think of that I have said something like, "Oh, I sent you something on Instagram," or "Hey, get a picture of that." And then they answer with, "Oh, I left my phone in the car." And not like, "Hey man, open the car doors, I need to get my phone," but more like, "Oh, it wasn't even a thought. I don't need that thing. I have been without it for the last 6 hours, and it's not even a thought. I'm here with people that I actually enjoy. I don't need my phone." And when that happens, my brain short circuits. What do you mean you left it in the car on purpose? Like you're just kind of raw dogging reality. You don't need to check it. You don't need to see if somebody texted you, or you don't need to fill this silence. You don't need to do a podcast or a video or a fantasy football or an email or TikTok or anything like that for the 30 seconds of silence between us. And that reaction tells us, because the weird person in that moment is probably the healthier one. Most of us carry a pocket-sized dopamine dispenser and act like it is a normal extension of our body or a appendage we reach before we even think. We are checking before we even know what we're checking for. If you've ever done a dopamine detox with your phone, there is a time that I can think I deleted all of the social media apps as like a little reset for myself, and I found myself mindlessly opening my phone and clicking on the screen where Facebook and Instagram used to be, like autopilot. This is a sick brain, okay? And most of the time, we are checking for what? Something that moves us out of boredom, something that interrupts discomfort, makes us feel wanted, informed, distracted, entertained, maybe a little bit horny senior, outraged, productive, included, or briefly less alone. And that's the part that I think I care about the most clinically, because in my office, I work with a lot of addiction. I get a lot of people who have an alcohol problem or aren't really ready to change their relationship with alcohol or substances, porn, sex, gambling, compulsive relationships. They jump from one partner to the next with absolutely zero reset, control, avoidance, emotional dependence. All of these are addictions, whether people want to use that word or not. And all of these are also ways that people learn to leave themselves. Underneath most of these patterns, we are looking at a dopamine addiction. And the phone is one of the cleanest examples. I wish I could say that I am exempt. I probably do better than I did a year ago, but not as well as I would think. So I'm not sharing any of this from a hilltop, okay? A lot of people won't call this an addiction. But if I was going to look at DSM boxes, it might fit some of the criteria with like loss of control or compulsive checking, irritability if you are blocked or removed from a platform, mood shifts based on how much you can access it, sleep disruption, fractured attention, avoiding real life tasks, shame afterward, and even worse, a shrinking ability to tolerate quiet. I'm going to weave in some information from a great resource or book, and this hits kids the hardest because kids are still developing. So I'm going to pull some information from a book called The Great Rewiring, but it is all about how kids are still learning and they are affected by presence or lack of boredom, friendship, conflict, repair, identity, sexuality, and belonging. And a device that is designed for stimulation nonstop has somehow now landed in the middle of this developmental window. And so this isn't just about kids, because adults are living it too. We can't wait in line or sit at a red light or watch a show without a second screen. Can't go to bed without one last check. Can't sit with feeling alone for a moment without uncertainty or boredom, anger, or desire looking for a quick exit. So phones are rewiring childhood, but they're also training adults how to escape ordinary life, and they make silence feel threatening. So this episode is about that dopamine dispenser and what part of your life you have stopped being able to sit with. Let's talk about how we got here, because in my teen years, we had flip phones that did not have full keyboards. So we had the T9 text. If you wanted to send a text message to somebody, you'd have to push like the 4 button 3 times to get the certain letter that you were looking for, the same way that an old dial pad had. Probably half the listeners don't even know what I'm talking about with T9 text. Fast forward to 2015 from 2007, and now teenagers are scrolling, posting, gaming, watching videos, messaging, comparing, tracking status, consuming complete strangers, reacting to their friends, performing identity, monitoring who has been included, who's excluded, who's attractive, who's liked, who's ignored, and who seems like they are winning. Social psychologist Jonathan Haidt calls this the Great Rewiring. And this phrase works because it's way deeper than just kids spending too much time on their screens, but instead how childhood itself and the way that we socialize with each other is reorganized. Attention changed, friendship changed, sleep, boredom, status, privacy, sexual exposure, emotional pain, and the way that children learn changed. We are now hooked on fast reward, novelty, anticipation, relief, escape, and a quick shift in internal state, with this promise that the next scroll or notification, message or video, next like, swipe, search, any of those things will pull you out of discomfort. And a lot of the clients that I see, teens and adults, appear to suffer from this addiction to their phones. Some of them have screen time 6, 8, 12 hours a day. How did we get here? Kids, well, all humans are social and cultural learners. We survive through shared knowledge, language, cooperation, family patterns, social rules, friendship, community, learning through conflict and then repair. And a child has to learn how to become a person inside of a society and inside of a culture, which takes time. And childhood is a time of apprenticeship where kids are supposed to be learning those things. And this is the frame that I keep coming back to when I think about phones, is that a kid is not just passing time until adulthood. They are practicing adulthood in small, messy, safe little ways. And they need play, they need periods of boredom, they need risk, they need some conflict and repair. They need to lose a game and not get a fucking participation trophy. They need to be left out sometimes and figure out, maybe I did something that I shouldn't do in the future. They need to misread a room and then learn from a correction. They need older kids, they need adults, they need role models, they need to know what courage and vulnerability looks like, what responsibility looks like, what restraint looks like, what an apology should really look like, and what their own selfishness and self-absorption costs them. And most of them are not learning this on TikTok. These are the ways that a human being becomes competent, but a phone-based developmental time of adolescence and childhood interrupts that apprenticeship by replacing lived experiences with managed stimulation, because a kid can be occupied all day on a screen and then underdeveloped in the exact capacities that life requires later. Now, I don't work with a ton of kids anymore now that I'm in private practice, but I can tell you that one pattern that I saw with nearly all the kids I worked with was feel awkward, scroll. Bored, scroll. Feel lonely, check. Feel rejected, search for proof online. Feel uncertain, ask Quora or Reddit. Feel restless, play a game. Feel empty, watch a YouTube video. Socially unsafe, see what everybody else is doing. And over time, kids practice less in real life and they are living through screens. But development requires real friction and sitting in uncomfortable moments. And addiction removes that friction, the exact moment that friction is supposed to be teaching them to do something different. So Haidt describes in The Great Rewiring, or maybe it was The Anxious Generation, I can't remember. The book is The Anxious Generation, and he is describing the Great Rewiring. That's what it is. But he discusses how mammals, even, non-humans, build competence through play. So young mammals learn through play. Kittens pounce on each other, puppies wrestle with each other. Sometimes they bite each other, and then one yelps and then corrects the other one, and then you learn ooh, that's biting too hard, right? Kids run, they chase, hide, tease each other, joke, make and break rules, get mad at each other, come back, and they learn how to negotiate how to be part of a group. That is what childhood is supposed to be. And free play means that kids choose and direct activity by themselves. The play exists for its own sake. The stakes are low enough that they can make mistakes and have enough risk that they actually learn something. A kid can lose, fall down, be embarrassed in front of their peers, be excluded. They can apologize and try again and re-enter. All of this is emotion regulation training, conflict resolution training, frustration tolerance training, and social timing training. And you don't learn any of that if you get ticked off at somebody on the internet and then you just block them. Okay? You can't just ghost your boss because you didn't like their tone. And this next generation is absolutely fucked because they have been rewired by their phones to think that this is reality. You don't become resilient by listening to a TED Talk on resilience. As much as I wish that I could impact all of the listeners, that you hear me say something once on Doing the Work podcast and then your life is profoundly changed, we all know it doesn't work that way, okay? A child becomes resilient through repeated contact with manageable difficulty. In counseling, we use the word window of tolerance, how much of this difficult emotion or painful memory can we go back to and still stay in a workable area? And kids do this with bruises, sometimes a little bit of rejection, awkwardness, disagreement, effort, failure, and trying again. Adult-led lessons can give information, but play shapes the nervous system, and this is where the phone creates a developmental trade, because phone life gives stimulation without requiring any practice. You can sit alone and feel busy. A teenager can be socially connected. I've got clients that have got 70,000 followers and no friends in real life. Okay? This avoids the real-time demand of a real friendship. Young adults can spend hours interacting online and in person, absolutely starved of what a real connection looks like. A phone-based childhood that is being shaped by algorithms trains a different pattern. Don't like that guy? Block him. Sick of looking at this app? Go ahead, close it. Open a different one. Avoidance is easy. Substitution is easy. And these kids are going to learn you cannot just swap through partners and friends and stuff like that when there is a rupture. That's the developmental cost. The phone does not have to show something obviously harmful. God, what was that really messed up video that was so viral? 2 girls, 1 cup, okay? You don't need to see 2 girls, 1 cup to interfere with development. All it has to take is boredom and nonstop screen time. something that pulls you away from the motivation to go outside, call a friend, sit with discomfort, wander, move, build, risk, repair, or create something that demands effort. And a smartphone can open your eyes to one world while blocking the world that's right in front of you. So Hate uses this phrase, experience blocker, because a phone gives a kid endless access to content while reducing access to the developmental experiences that the brain actually needs and expects. It's like giving a toddler videos about watching, but then reducing the time that's actually available for them to practice walking. So this is not just about adolescents either. Adults do the same thing with discomfort. We are sitting in a doctor's office waiting room and we can't wait. We are on the phone. We wake up and reach. Gosh, I am guilty of this, that I wake up and the first freaking thing I do is check my phone and check my email. Or, God forbid, check my socials. We feel an uncomfortable emotion and immediately want to shift it to something else. And it might not even be like comparison to other people online. It could just be immediately to music or a podcast or texting somebody or putting a video on in the background. Anything except contact with what's going on inside of us, and that is the addiction pattern. And if you are a person who is still developing, this pattern becomes part of the foundation. In real life, free play between kids, it's messy, maybe there's a little bit of bullying, it's immediate, it's alive, but social media turns these developing brains into comparison machines. They are watching bodies, faces, lifestyles, friendships, vacations, relationships, outrage, popularity metrics, and manufactured confidence. The mirror gets harsher. The room that they are actually sitting in is less interesting. And adolescents are supposed to care about belonging. That is part of the developmental task. They should be looking for signals like, am I accepted? Am I desirable? Am I respected? Am I weird? Am I safe? Do I have a place here? And these platforms and living through online socials turns these into visible metrics of likes, views, follows, comments, response time, read receipts, snap streaks, screenshots, group chats. Everything becomes like a measurable signal. And a middle school kid should be learning how to do this through real-time interaction, but instead they are monitoring status through numbers on a screen. Children need attunement, and that's the ability to tune in to another person in real time. Babies learn this through eye contact, facial expression, taking turns, laughing, cooing, rhythm, and shared emotion. The baby smiles, the adult responds, the adult makes a face, the baby reacts, back and forth, serve and return. It's like tennis. That rhythm builds attachment, timing, trust, and it even teaches emotional regulation for these infants. But phones disrupt this pattern because attention keeps disappearing. And this is something that I think about sometimes, that I'm just awful about. Like, I try to have notifications off on my phone so that I do not compulsively check, but I notice my phone often robs me of time with really valuable people. That I'll be at dinner with my mom and like answering an email. She's not going to be around forever. That fucking email is so unimportant. So unimportant. But this is causing people to disappear from their real life. Parents might be physically present but vanished in their screen, and then the kid sees the body at the table with them, but there's no connection. Dad thinks to himself, I'm right here. but the kid experiences something different. They experience a parent that keeps leaving because the attention keeps going elsewhere. And as kids get older, attunement becomes more complex. They learn timing in conversation, joking with each other, roughhousing, group rituals, and friendship. They learn when to push, when to stop, when somebody else is hurt, if a joke landed badly, and then how to make a repair. Human beings do stuff in rhythm. Singing, dancing, marching, playing music, moving or listening to music together as a group. Probably few of you know how incredible it feels to be in the middle of a mosh pit at a Slayer concert while Kerry King is headbanging and fire is exploding behind him and the crowd is absolutely apeshit with excitement. Or maybe if Slayer isn't your thing, you've been at a Taylor Swift concert and y'all had your little glow wristbands syncing with each other while she was on the stage. That works too. Same thing. Social media offers a cheap substitute. Constant contact and relationally underfed. There was a Black Mirror episode that was exceptional, really highlights like how warped we are as people, that we are not truly actually interacting with each other in real time, but putting all of it online for likes, because the platform interaction is delayed. It's fragmented. Somebody posts, somebody reacts later. They watch without speaking. You know, something that kind of irks or irritates me is that, like, I'll put on content, podcasts, stuff like that, and people will tell me that they listened to it, they found it super helpful. Sometimes it's because it's like personal. They don't like it, or they don't interact with it, or they don't comment on it. And then I'm like, I don't even know if anybody ever even sees this stuff, right? Not that I do all of that for likes, but when there isn't interaction with it in that moment, how do I even know? Because I don't get to see people's facial expression or tone or posture or rhythm. I mean, like when I work with clients in the office, if I say something that doesn't land, I pause and I go, ooh, I could see that what I just said did not resonate for you, or that did not sit well for you. And sometimes it's because I need to reframe something, or other times it's because they didn't want to hear it or whatever. And I don't get to do that on a podcast, and I don't get to do that with a social media post. They just unfollow or block or whatever. And this isn't training us to have healthy relationships. Instead, the phones are teaching us to, well, maybe not teaching us, but the phones are interrupting us noticing bids for connection from people that actually matter to us. People sitting together at a dinner table, use that Chili's example or Applebee's or whatever I said at the beginning of the episode. They're all present and half present. This is like one of the strangest parts of modern life, is like overstimulated, under-attuned, connected all day, but not actually connected. And this shows up in my office all the time, that they have hundreds of daily interactions, messages, inboxes, group chats, all that stuff, but they don't feel seen by other people. And your nervous system knows the difference. A like is not a face, and a notification is not a real presence. Now, I'm still kind of learning about like algorithms. First of all, I don't really care. You're never going to see me. Well, never say never, right? On the Naples Integrated Recovery page, I get a lot of content of like therapists dancing and pretending and recording all these shorts, like, oh, someone, a therapist sitting with somebody who sets a boundary, and like the therapist has their mouth wide open like, oh my God, you did that? Because they want like likes and attention, and look how human I am, look how real I am, or hey, I don't want to do my therapy notes, so here's me like dancing in my office. I don't know, like, this is the stuff that apparently gets algorithm attention. I don't understand it. I don't really post a lot of shorts and stuff on my Instagram content for the business, but something odd that I have seen is that I'll post something. I just did one of a cop who was explaining the moment that he went to treatment and all of the shame and everything that actually surrounded that. Now, this is a conversation if you were actually present for with that person right in front of you, I promise you it would have your full attention. Full attention. It was such a profoundly moving story. And if I look at like the metrics for that, people watched that video for like 3 seconds and then swipe to something else. So, hope you're not actually gauging your life content and worth based on an algorithm. The algorithm rewards what captures attention in like 5 seconds. I give my partner a hard time about often I hear his content on his phone. It starts with screaming, which, so for a 40-year-old, like, I hate this, but every video it seems like that he is watching on his phone starts with teeny bopper girls screaming. This is probably something that grabs attention, right, for the algorithm. But growth rewards what actually builds capacity, which is probably why there's like 30 listeners to this show instead of thousands of people watching outrage videos. These pull attention in different directions, and puberty is probably the worst time to hand over to the algorithm because our brains are especially open and absorbing in certain windows. So kids are getting smartphones right as they are entering a very sensitive period, and instead of learning primarily through family, neighborhood, school, sports, faith communities, and face-to-face relationships, many are submerged in this algorithmic culture during the years when identity is the most impressionable. And then with this, the sequence gets scrambled because adult content is arriving too early, sexual comparison is arriving too early, stranger danger culture is arriving too early, outrage, status, pornography, influencers, humiliation, endless novelty, all of it too early because the phone is portable, private, constant, and a lot of times adults do not even know what kind of a world their kid is living in. This also helps explain why this issue affects adults. So even though Jonathan Haidt's material focuses on adolescents, the adult version can look like compulsive checking, reduced attention span, poor sleep, doom scrolling, avoidance, comparison, online shopping, all of it. A lot of adults are using phones in the way some of my clients use substances. Quick state change. And that doesn't require moral panic. It requires honesty. Through an addiction lens, we are looking at dopamine and a reward system trained for fast relief. The phone is powerful because it gives variable rewards. Sometimes nothing happens. Sometimes there's a like, sometimes a conflict, sometimes sexual content, sometimes outrage with politics, sometimes novelty, and that kind of unpredictability keeps people going back and checking. And slot machines operate with this similar principle. The pull is not only toward reward, it's to the possibility of reward. So in gambling psychology, you have the near miss is when you pull the slot machine lever and it lines up that it's like 7-7. Oh, and you just barely missed that other 7. And that anticipation of reward when the slot dials, or whatever the hell they're called, are moving, that's what creates more dopamine than actually winning, is the anticipation. So I have an article on dopamine on the website. Maybe do a search on the Naples Integrated Recovery website if you are interested to learn more about that. I'm going to tie it back to an addiction lens, because just put the phone down fails the same way as just don't drink. This is not about rational choice. When we are looking at addiction, you're looking at a nervous system that has been trained and runs on autopilot. The hand reaches before the mind even decides. So I gave the example that when I had deleted Instagram and Facebook a couple of years ago, I found my finger just going to where it was on my phone without even thinking about it, clicking where it used to be, and then being like, oh my gosh, sick brain, right? Like, I don't even know why I opened it. Is the same as I don't even know how I ended up at this bar, or I don't even know how I ended up smoking when I said I wasn't going to do it. That's the thing, is it becomes automatic. And for people in recovery, addiction often started as a relief, but then it becomes compulsion. It starts as a choice, and then it narrows in. It starts as pleasure, and then it becomes management. And phones, unlike smoking weed at the table or randomly doing a line while you're at Applebee's, your phone is socially acceptable. So people don't see how severe it can be, because no one is thinking twice about somebody looking at their phone 200 times in a day. No one is calling that a relapse if somebody spends a few hours bed rotting in a feed. No one stages an intervention when a parent is half present listening to their kid because they are reading work emails. At Naples Integrated Recovery, the point is not symptom reduction. The deeper work is building a life where you can tolerate reality, act with responsibility, repair your relationships, and stop outsourcing emotional regulation to whatever gives you immediate relief. And that applies here directly. Your phone is about a regulation issue. So, what are you reaching for when you're uncomfortable or when you are bored? Can you sit with a feeling long enough to try to understand it? Can you stay present with a person in front of you that you disagree with? Can you tolerate not feeling seen for 5 minutes? Can you handle silence? Can I be with my kid, my partner, my own mind, my own body, my own unfinished responsibilities? These questions apply to adolescents, parents, couples, people in addiction recovery, high-functioning professionals, or anybody that keeps saying that they want peace or they want to be happy, but instead you're just hijacking your nervous system all day with constant novelty. A phone-based childhood is training avoidance early, and a phone-based adulthood keeps it going. Doing the work means interrupting that training. So, I am not asking anybody for digital purity. As I said, I don't do great with this myself. I check my phone when I wake up in the morning. It's terrible for me. It's terrible. But if you want to actually try to put this into work, go out to eat, and like my friend, leave your phone in the car. Try a drive from destination to destination without looking at your phone at the red lights. Let your kid be bored. Let your teenager be pissed about having limits. Leave your phone charging in the kitchen instead of in the bedroom. Have a hard conversation face to face. Go for a walk outside without your AirPods. Don't give a kid an iPad just because they are restless. Make your dinner table human again. This is the addiction principle. Recovery is not about removing a substance or behavior. Recovery is rebuilding a life that behavior replaced, and the same applies for phones. If a teenager loses social media and gains nothing, they will experience that as exile. And if an adult deletes apps and still has no friendships, no purpose, no routine, no physical movement, no ability to tolerate silence, no repair skills, and no real-world pressure, the phone is going to keep roaring back. You have to replace the loop with life. The work is reclaiming attention, restoring embodied life, letting boredom be present, learning how to tolerate discomfort without reaching for a screen, giving a kid a real-world childhood that will allow them to actually shape into functioning adults. And for adults, before you scroll or open your phone or do whatever, pause and ask yourself, what am I opening this app for? What am I looking for? What am I experiencing in this moment? Probably boredom, right? Because if the phone is your regulator, your escape hatch, your companion, mirror, sedative or stimulant, proof that you can exist, then the problem is bigger than just your screen time. Your life is being outsourced. And taking it back, that's doing the work. Thanks for spending the time with me. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with somebody who may need to hear it. Be kind to yourself, be kind to people around you. Remember that we're all doing the best that we can with the tools that we currently have, and we're all capable of growing past that. If you'd like to reach out or connect, send me an email, brian@naplesintegratedrecovery.com. I hope to hear from you there. In the meantime, thanks again for listening. I'll see you on the next one.